guys, welcome to another episode of the Commerce Lab by Ecomcy, the place of everything related to Amazon FBA private label and e-commerce. My name is Vincenzo Toscano, your host, founder, and CEO of Ecomcy. And today I bring you a very close friend of mine, Lokesh. He's basically known as the India expert. And based on that, you might already assume what the topic is going to be today. We're going to be talking about everything related regarding the potential of sourcing from India. I was in India close to 2 months ago, had a ton of fun, learned so much about the Indian culture and also the business opportunity when it comes to sourcing from India. And I was very keen after that trip to be more vocal about the opportunity Amazon sellers can find when it comes to sourcing outside of China and using India as an alternative. So that's why I wanted to bring Lokesh on board today. So Lokesh, it's a pleasure to have you here, my friend. How you doing?
Great, Vincenzo, and thank you for bringing me on your stage. We were going to talk about India as the platform, not only for sourcing, but I would encourage we can also help sellers establish their retail presence in India to sell products to Indian consumers. We have the biggest market to get your business growth, like humongous growth, I think, as the e-commerce space.
Exactly. In fact, before we jump into the topic and so on, it would be great if you can give us just a quick introduction about who is Lokesh, how you became the India expert, and then of course we jump into the topic. Yeah.
Great. I had actually recorded one of the YouTube videos on my channel for who is Lokesh Parashar in the same sense. So I started my education as an engineer, but by choice, I was always into international marketing. So I switched my career very beginning of the passing out of my graduation as an engineer, and I have seen the journey in the last 30 plus years from way back in 1993 of becoming a supplier, learning the tricks and trades, traveled globally, uh, then creating a factory of manufacturing, and all the way supplying to Walmart and Tuesday Morning. And North America has always been my specialty. And then in 2001, when my first bankruptcy or the first low of my business started, I switched on to services. And that's how it's the last 20 years I've been able to serve as a sourcing manager for a lot of wholesalers, retailers, and in the past 5 years also Amazon sellers, which are also retailers. But during those 20 years, we had never had an opportunity of having such a boom in the e-commerce. But in the last 10 years or 12 years of Amazon space in the world, and in India, I think for the last 10 years, we have seen this segment growing like anything. So
Yeah.
we also came on board, and we started to serve Amazon sellers 5 years back. And now I have a good team across India where we can also help you not only source product from different country factories manufacturing, but also if you're looking at India in terms of the market to sell and expand your business. So we'll be your retainer consultant to help you figure out who are your right partners to come and work with India, because it's a tough market. Norms are very stiff to enter into the market, but once you are here and you establish a brand, I think you will be much more uh, bigger in the sense as just as compared to what you sell in the US. So it's a
No,
huge
man.
opportunity. A lot of people I've seen, a lot of brands from other countries have established in India, and they are like minting money. So we can
Yeah.
help you in that sense as well.
Awesome. Yeah, I think I totally agree with you. Like when I went to India, I saw the huge transformation in terms of industrial capabilities India is going through in terms of manufacturing. Like we know now that more than ever, manufacturers in India are capable to now competing head to head with Chinese manufacturers in some of the specific categories. And that's actually one of the things that's going to bring me to my first question. Like 10 years ago, India wasn't even the radar when it comes to sourcing, and now it's basically becoming one of the top choices for some Amazon sellers as an alternative outside of China. So maybe let's start with what you have seen, or what do you think have been the reasons for India to basically become one of the top leaders now when it comes to sourcing? Like, what has been changing in India that has allowed this?
So India has always been a second choice for sourcing so far. I
Yeah.
would say like 10 years before, like for the last 30, 40 years, with a lot of global manufacturing shifting to China, the pricing, because of the labor cost and the mass scale of merchandise manufacturing in China, we were always kind of 20-30% expensive when you talk about anything you want to do in India and you want to do in China. But in the last 10 years, the labor cost with the China and the global turnaround of a matter of choice, uh, and especially the e-commerce business where you have to have a lot of small quantities as well, trial orders, and a lot of prototype to be done, that made India a favorable spot now. And
Hmm.
now we have seen, like when I started my business 30 years back, I was competing with China because I was supplying to Walmart. I used to display product at Shenzhen. I used to compete with China, and we had very few categories of product where we can compete. Maybe something to do with hand. Uh,
Hmm.
I was a garden supplier, a garden product specialist, and I used to be in Taiwan in the room finalizing the samples and orders with Walmart buyers, and they used to throw us prices like in China. And at that time also we were successful, but in a very small scale of SKU number. But in the last 30 years, and especially in the last 10 years, I've seen, if I'm talking about 20 products 30 years back, I would say right now we might be having 2000 plus product, which you can easily compare and compete with China. And that has, it's not only about China getting expensive, it's also about the growth of Indian manufacturing, the
Hmm.
competitiveness, the scale of business the factories are doing, the manufacturing processes have changed, and our labor cost has not yet increased as much as China. So those are like all the mixed factors which has made India one of the favorable alternate to sourcing from China.
Awesome. Now, when we talk about this alternative solution from China, which is right now India, and everybody's basically now starting to dig in on this market. Of course, we need to be mindful, just as you basically briefly mentioned, that this is going to be at the moment for certain categories. We haven't seen a full shift yet where India can compete on all the categories with China because of the time it's taking basically to catch up with. The years of advantage that China had in certain niches. So basically, my question for you is for people listening right now, considering India for sourcing, which one would you say are the categories right now that are the top choices? Like if you are selling those categories, India could be a perfect fit for you. Yeah.
Yes, that's a very good question actually, and this is one of the most common question asked by a lot of our
Mhm.
customers when we are talking to them for the first time. They have seen China, they might not have seen India, and I would say India has their own strength and their own weaknesses. So once you want to compare apple to apple, that is where you would be able to see the difference of why we should be in China and why we should be in India. For example, if you're looking at ceramics, if you're looking at products which are mass merchandise, large scale, uh, large quantities, mechanized plants, and they're going into home decor, I would say it would be China. But if you're looking at something to do with the mass scale, quantities is not an issue, but there is some hand process to be done in the manufacturing. Then China becomes really, really, I would say, non-competitive in terms of India because we have the very cheaper labor and the artistic skills of those labors. In that sense, the one is that factor. Other would be the mixed material, where a lot of mixed material product has to be inbuilt in the manufacturing process. I'm not
Okay.
talking about bundling of product, but I'm talking about where you have a combination of raw material to produce a final finished product. That is also where we have seen China always struggling to compete with India.
Okay, good. Now, when it comes to materials, that's very interesting because I remember when actually I was in India, I was surprised by the fact that most big part of some of the materials actually are used in China actually are also sourced from India, and that's actually I think where you can be very smart because the cost that will take this material to be shipped to China to the manufacturer, I guess, for some of these specific resources where India basically has the lead in terms of the raw material, you could find a cheaper production cost just for the mere fact the product is already sourced in India in the first instance, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So in terms of the product or raw material, I would say I always tell my customers and also my friends in Amazon seller who are learning about India is you should look at the source of raw material.
Hmm.
If the source of raw material is China and we are importing the source right into India, and you have a capability of reaching to Chinese factories, I would prefer you to go back to China, because raw material is directly sourced from China and then it's coming to India as an import. There are a lot of regulations. Definitely a cost will be increased. But if you're looking at a very large scale volume, then it tends to be very lucrative for you to explore India as well, because when
Nice.
you export from India, then you don't pay a duty to the government for importing it. It
Exactly.
basically cross cancels the export with import, and the Indian government will encourage the export, so they don't charge you an import or import duty. So it is almost like you're just paying a small freight for getting the raw material out of China to India. And if it's a huge volume, it makes sense to explore India as well. For
Nice.
example, in textiles, now when you say cotton or
Yeah.
leather, that's what China imports from India in a large quantity. So
Hmm.
if you're looking at a leather product, if you're looking at cotton textiles, in terms of especially handloom or even power loom, you should always come back to India to check your prices. Because China imports the raw material cotton from India, China imports a lot of leather from India, and then you go into subjective of the product side. Okay, what exactly is the product? How it is
Awesome.
manufactured?
Now, let's start talking about the process of starting the process of sourcing from India, because some of the questions I bet you get a lot is like how this differ when it comes, especially at the communication stage, when it comes to talking to what is the difference between talking to a Chinese manufacturer compared to an Indian manufacturer. I'm talking about what is the criteria usually in Indian manufacturers may have in terms of MOQs, in terms of how much customization they might do on a product, the certification. So give us a little bit a high level, like what are some of the key difference between a sourcing from a Chinese manufacturer compared to an Indian one, especially at those early stages when it comes to getting the partnership going with a manufacturer. Yeah.
So in terms of compliances, there is no issue at all. There is
Mm-hmm.
no dearth of factories, no shortage of right product which are compliant as per the US standards or UK standards or Europe standards. Uh, I don't think so. We have any problem when you're looking at international quality and you have a compliance on your product, especially when you're an e-commerce seller. You would be looking at Amazon uh, regulations and your guidance on import. You will never have a problem in that sense. In terms of the process, it might become little easy for you in India, because we are very comfortable with smaller quantities. Factories are very open to having
Exactly.
buyers starting from small business, maybe some trial shipments, maybe some product development to start. The mold costs are really cheap in India, I would say, because most of the molds are made by traditional way. It is not like you are
I
doing
see.
a product casting, a blow casting, where you have the very heavy cost of the mold, and then
Mm-hmm.
it basically comes down to the subjective level of the kind of product you would like to source.
Okay. Very interesting. And now when it comes to this, the other question I get a lot, especially after I came from India, people asking me, okay, I love what I've been seeing in terms of India. However, I feel a little bit lost when it comes to how I find the right manufacturer. Because when it comes to, for example, China, we know that platforms such as Alibaba or other solutions out there, they have a huge database when it comes to Chinese manufacturers. But correct me if I'm wrong, in India, some of these manufacturers, you have to go directly to India to actually find them, because not a lot of them have yet adapt maybe the digital interaction with international sellers. So how could a person like in the US or in Europe navigate this issue to start connecting with these amazing manufacturers in India? What is your advice? Yeah.
So in my earlier statement, I did say that you should be going on my YouTube to have a lot of resources. On my Instagram also, if you go and follow me, you will see a link.by resource link there,
Nice.
where I've addressed this question in detail, that India is a challenge in terms of sourcing the right factory. We do not have
Mhm.
Alibaba in India. We have very few, maybe in hundreds or couple of hundreds in terms of factory on Alibaba from India. So you do not have in the right platform. Lot of sellers have told me they go to Trade India or India Industry or a lot of these websites where aggregator businesses are basically yellow paged, but they are
Yeah.
not exporters. most of these people are basically registered there as a local business, and they're not looking at any export. They don't have the communication, they don't have any means to tell you how it is to be done. So the only way, and that's what I have explained in my Instagram on that subject, is a trade show exhibition directory. You can
Okay.
visit the India trade show, or you visit some international trade show directories, and export council directories, where a lot of exporters are registered with the council. For example, if you're into leather, there is a CLE, which is called a Confederation of Leather Exporters. So you should be able to list down, okay, where are the export associations or export councils in India, and then you will have a list of all those product categories. You can go into the website. You can even email those people, but mind you, do not share your genuine email address with those people, because it's same in China. When you go to Canton, you do not share your actual
They
email address.
invaded with emails. Yeah. Yeah.
You need to create a new email for these people, so that even that we do it for our customers also. When they're coming for first time to India, we tell them that I'm going to create a one Gmail account for you. I'll give you the
Mhm.
access. You want to access anytime, you can access it. But in the next couple of years, you'll have hundreds and thousands of email coming to you, because your email will be circulated to every Tom, Dick, and Harry who's trying to be in exports.
Yeah. That's a good one. And now, when it comes to India, of course, the opportunity is not only on the sourcing side, but also on the selling side, which I find very interesting. I mean, Amazon India, for example, is present. Of course, when it comes to India, there's certain filters, like you need to work with somebody that is located in the Indian market already. But however, talk us a little bit about how international sellers could potentially explore India from the selling perspective. Like, that's something I find also interesting myself. So can you give us a little glimpse on that, how it looks like? Yeah?
Yes. So I have seen brands growing like anything from 1 million to millions of dollars in India, because they could capture the nerve of the Indian customer or Indian consumer, and they had the best of the team. So logistically, Amazon has cracked the code in India, where they are
Mhm.
now able to deliver your goods to 100% of your zip codes in India. That means
Wow, crazy.
every nook and corner of India, 100%. Earlier, last year, they were 99.9. Now they are
Yeah.
saying officially that 100% of India is covered by Amazon as in terms of delivery.
Wow.
And then together with almost 30% of our people purchasing power is in the young millennials.
Hmm.
So boys and girls from the age of 18 to 35 is around, if I'm not wrong, around 40 million people.
Wow.
So
Okay.
you are looking at a big country with a lot of good pocket money, and they're millennials. In fact, if I look at my both kids, who are, one is in college, one is in high school, and even I myself, our first choice is to go on Amazon and search for a product. Then I'm going to order something by a food
Hmm.
delivery, or a grocery delivery, but I will be doing it digitally and by online.
Interesting.
So
Interesting. And
that
when
is
it
where
comes
you
to
should be looking
India,
at. Sorry, that is where you should be looking at India in terms of capturing. Then the second stage would be a choice of product. That what is the right
okay.
product for the Indian customer.
Interesting. In fact, that was gonna be my next question. You just nailed it there. Like, um, of course, the market is huge, but I bet what maybe works as a product in the US or Europe might not work in India. So when it comes to products high level that you see are very attractive when it comes to online, like you constantly see Indian customers looking for these kind of categories on Amazon. Have you identified some trends? Like, people is more likely to buy home decor, kitchen products? Like, what have you seen the Indian market working the best when it comes to online?
It's a very subjective question, Vincenzo. And if you are a smart Amazon seller, where like a couple of my clients, they really, when they come to me and they want to source the product from India, I would say follow the same path. You have a lot of softwares, a lot of tools, Helium 10,
Yeah.
PickFu, Jungle Scout. Apply them to Indian market and see what is top selling there, how people are making money. For example, we had one of my Amazon seller buyer visiting India, and we were at the toy show. She was using that tool on her
Mm.
phone, and we were at the, because it was a toy fair, so we had a lot of toys, and she could figure out Okay, if this toy is they are selling, it's an international business, it's an export company, and they will able to give us the white label, private label sourcing. On the spot she could find out how many SKUs their competitor is selling right now on Amazon, at what price, and she could figure out that if she wants to do something like that, and if she tweaks the design to stay ahead, she could found a couple of more pieces there. Right on that time itself she could decide, yes, if I have to sell this to even Indian market, I can sell to India, and then I can create this under a US brand to sell in
Ex-
India itself. While one
Exactly.
shipment go to US for US market, and the half of the shipment or whatever numbers you want to stay back, they can be staying back in the factory. We also have a lot of these warehousing companies and 3PL companies, or even factories are willing to partner with you to store
Yeah.
your goods as long as they're selling in India.
Okay. Yeah, that's another thing I wanted
Lot
to
of
ask you next.
potential, lot of possibilities are there. You just need to figure out and really deep dive and commit yourself to explore.
So when it comes to that, do you have maybe some advice? Do you know if there is any services that could help like people listening now, like USA or European sellers that say, okay, India is amazing. I have looked into the data, everything makes sense. Like, what would you say it would be the next step? Like finding maybe an Indian business partner that could be your like ambassador to bring you within the country. Like, what is usually the best setup to enter the Indian market in that sense?
I would say, just like when you require a sourcing agent, you need help. The person who is managing your business in terms of sourcing makes everything fast track for you. As a business guide, they save you a lot of time, which is also equal to money. As an Amazon seller, you're already outsourcing a lot of to work to your VAs and technical people out there for content, or for or creating your or listing or whatever. Hire a professional for you and let them work for you. Maybe it could be
Yeah.
man hours, man days, whatever it suits you as well. It all depends upon how much money you would like to explore, spending on only exploring this market right now. And then,
Love
as I said, commit yourself first that yes, this is the market I would explore, and I would like to spend this much of time and this much of money on my exploration time.
Awesome. Awesome. Now, so we can start concluding some of the strategies and tips. Like besides everything we've been discussing in terms of, how to navigate the opportunity of sourcing and selling on India. What are the things you think it would be valuable to mention right now on this episode to basically provide more insights about the market? Like, is there any other tips you think that we didn't touch on that you think would be valuable for our listeners and watchers to know right now? On top of that, yeah.
Sure. If you on the sourcing side, as we have been discussing before as well, we
Hmm.
have a very fantastic offer for if you are a group of sellers coming in. Uh, we have the hosted by program. As a
Nice.
federation, I represent a federation of sourcing agents, which we call Federation of Business Ambassadors. Coincidentally, it is FBA, or which call we call Federation of Buying Agents. And in that association, we are promoting that the people should work with buying agents, sourcing agents, and we are inviting a lot of buyers on a platform called Hosted Buyer Program. So we conduct it twice a year, in February and in October. Once you are part of that program, we gather around 25 Amazon sellers. They all come together. We make it as a business delegation. The best part is that your travel incentives of that business trip, which is roughly around 6,000 or $7,000, you're only paying $999 as a seller, which
Yeah.
includes your international flight ticket, your all 6 nights of hotel stay in five-star hotels, your 3 days of business, 3 days of exploring India, all your food, breakfast, lunch, dinner, everything. You just come to the Delhi airport, New Delhi airport, and you're in our hands. You only take out money for shopping or for ordering goods with people, or a sample or like commercial thing which you want to do. Otherwise, you don't spend a single penny with your. You just pay $999, and rest of the cost of $5,000 to $6,000 per seller or per buyer is paid by the federation. We create the
Wow.
entire ecosystem of 6 nights and 7 days of trip for you to explore India from every possibility.
Love it. And this trip, I guess, is an amazing opportunity to also find the manufacturers because you're gonna go visiting all these trade shows where you can meet them, basically, right?
Yes. So the first 3 days were one. The first day is mandatory to attend as a buyer. We're going to
Hmm.
shortlist and curate a list 25 to 30 exporters for you, depending on what category are you looking at. You're going to be having a closed door meeting with sourcing agents, which is mandatory for you to attend. You don't have to have hiring someone, but because it's a platform of federation and everybody is pulling in the money from their uh, resources to bring you to India, they would like to speak to you. And in case you require and you think that the sourcing agents are, or any one of them is helpful to me, you may or may not hire them. And then you will meet those exporters who are shortlisted and curated. They're displaying the product. Second and third day is open for you. You want to visit a trade show, you want to visit factories, you want to visit specific town for any business, we would encourage you to do those that part in the first 3 days. And then the next 3 days is exploring India. We have a couple of packages for you, which will be able to tell you what India is. We want you to
Oh,
explore and be on the ground to feel how Indians work, so that when you
yeah,
start doing business in India, even to buy or even to sell product, you should be able to pretty much gauge and judge that where I'm, which kind of pond or a lake or an ocean I'm swimming into.
awesome.
That is something we would like to do with you, and everything is done as soon as you sign up. There is a person assigned who will be your one point contact to arrange everything before the trip starts. So everything is taken care, your guidance on visa, or getting your invitation letter, the choice of hotel which will be done with you, the bookings, the taxi booking, the where do you want to go. You might have some appointments to fix by yourself, you might be meeting some factories before, you can just let
Yeah,
us know these are the places I would like to explore going within that range, and everything is done for you. And
love
no
it. I'm
commitment
gonna
to engage further with us. It is only for one time offer.
good. Yeah, I'm gonna make sure to put everything down in the description. If you share all the information, then of course, so people can join. Which is the date for people listening and watching, if they're interested into this trip?
So next one coming up is in February, which is will be from the 4th February to the 10th February.
Awesome. So
And then
very
the
soon.
next year would be October, uh, like February and then October.
Awesome. Very good. I'm finally in regarding the selling part. Any other tip you also want to provide so we can conclude to this episode?
Yeah, sorry, come again.
Yeah, regarding the selling side, is there anything else you think it would be valuable for people to know when it comes to India as well, so we can conclude today's episode in terms of selling
Yeah,
in
on
India?
the selling side, since it is my own personal consulting, so I can offer you a couple of nights of hotel stay complimentary as a friend to me, because when you come down here and you explore selling in India, you bring a lot of knowledge to my domain as well. So that will be my
Awesome.
complimentary hosting for you when you are coming here, and most welcome. One time when you're coming here to explore and you are saying, okay, Lokesh, I am willing to partner with you and you be my person here, those couple of nights in India or especially in Delhi, it will be hosted by me on my cost, as a gesture of goodwill, as a gesture of friendship, and a gesture of like common sharing of knowledge.
Yeah, and I can tell you from experience, Lokesh is a very good host.
Yeah, yeah. We
Awesome.
party a lot actually. Yeah.
Awesome, Lokesh. So, I mean, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom regarding, the opportunity of sourcing and selling in India. I think this is just the beginning because India is being more and more in the radar of so many, e-commerce sellers, and I think this is gonna be only the start of something so much bigger in terms of the opportunity that's gonna bring for the region, specifically India. So thank you so much. In case people want to reach out to you, do you want to share also how people can send you maybe an email or social media? Last details. Yeah.
Yeah, so I am going to share the links with you of the YouTube and Instagram, and you already have my WhatsApp. I will send you my QR code for WhatsApp. I'm very active on LinkedIn as well, so if you'd like to go on touch base on LinkedIn, I have a lot of articles on story of sourcing. I think close to 50 plus articles on LinkedIn in terms
Nice.
of anything that which involves cross border. As I mentioned, I also have another business called International Payment Recovery and Cargo Damage Claims. So we have a lot of articles of success stories of how we recover the payments from international business, how we manage the cargo claims for our customers. So once you go on the profile, you need pretty much enough time for you to explore what I need to know.
Awesome, Lokesh. So thank you so much. Wish you all the best as always, and I'm sure I'm gonna see you soon at one of our upcoming trips. Yeah. So it's been a
Yeah,
pleasure, man. Thank you.
certainly. Thank you,
Have a nice
Vincent.
time. Bye.